Hello and welcome to World Tanks with me, Gather and today we have our Tier 6 replay, and I chose this very much for one specific moment, but it's got a few points that I kind of think are very teachable, and that's sort of the whole thing with all these. I'm not choosing them best on the best game, based on the best, thank you, I do like to English every now and then. This is not the highest damage game. It's a good game, but it's not the highest damage game by any stretch of the imagination that we've had for the Tier 6 entries. But there's a couple things that I think you'll be able to see what they are, when they are. But there's particularly a certain moment where there's both a very good thing to be doing and a very good use of the replay system. So it works on a couple of levels. But you see, first, he's taking a very aggressive step. And this is the sort of thing I would probably do with the Cromwell B. You know, you've got a very fast tank. It's essentially a light tank. It's just in the medium bracket. And you're going to rush up, you're going to get into really nice advanced positions, and you're going to really make the most of it. Now, fortunately, he does have his team following. You do have to be careful when you're doing this to make sure you're not getting outplayed completely. If you end up here on your own, then you can still run away, but it's very, very risky. You know, the other thing with this I've had before where I've been up here on my own, their team have then pushed down towards my spawn, and I've had it where they've forgot you're there or just ignored you, and I've been able to farm them from behind in medium tanks. I've had it before where they've then come after me and haha, we're going to come and get you. And so they've come down, they've started coming up the hill from my spawn side, and then I just drop down on their side and run off. I mean, it's weird how people decide to do this. We see now he's noticed that they've got a bit of a position where they're in an advantage on the light tank, and so he's coming after the light tank. Their team have been very passive, and the few who haven't been have been absolutely stomped. And so another short game, but it makes some good points. And so here he's chasing down the light tank. Now, hidden rock to the rescue there, otherwise he probably would have driven straight off the edge. But you see, so first of all here, he's starting to just poke. He's just poking, and he thinks, in a minute he's going to start realising this is not particularly good for a trade. I mean, he took a bit of damage there. And so he starts side-scraping. Now, side-scraping is going to work quite well here. Then he decides to take the approach that I didn't expect to see in any of these replays. He decides to reverse side-scrape. Now, admittedly, he's being shot at with HE, and that's going to do damage almost no matter what. But it's massively reducing the damage he could take, because rather than hitting his armour, it's hitting his tracks. And that means it's doing very little damage indeed. And you see, he's literally using this to mean he's only showing the smallest amount possible of his tank. And there's going to be something very remarkable about this game, which is one of the reasons why I chose it. You see there, I think he's going to pause it, and it's at this point where he decides to show the angle at which he is doing this. And this is actually quite a nice little view. Ooh, little smoke screen there. I didn't notice that little smoke screen, smoke puff. But you see, this is the angle that he's firing at. And you see, there's very, very little of his tank exposed, and what you can see exposed, there's no way he's going to penetrate through from that angle. He's having to go through the tank tracks as well. He's also minimizing the amount of the turret that's exposed because of the fact that he's using the rock, and the rock exposes an amount of him from an angle that it doesn't from a different angle, if that makes any sense. Here you notice he's being shot from the other side, and he does over-angle a little bit towards the people from the bottom, who fortunately miss him. But it's an interesting use of this rock, and it's almost this moment precisely that is why I chose this replay. I think it's a very, very interesting use. I mean, obviously the Cromwell B is not a tank with armour, but it will bounce shots if you make it. And I've had games where I've side-scraped in, well, everything. I mean, I've reverse side-scraped in an FCM 50T recently. Then quite recently, when I was using some of the light tanks, I don't even have to skip it here myself. You know, some of my editing has been done for me. But yeah, so you see, he then takes a wide route, and he tries to do a climb, and it doesn't really work. But that reverse side-scraping, I think, was just worth kind of noting specifically, because you can do that in pretty much any tank. And he's now used the speed of this tank. He disappeared, and he's gone in his flanks. He misses his first shot, but the second shot is going to hit, and then that guy's taken out. And so he used the speed of this thing, and it is essentially a light tank. I mean, I don't really know why it does count as a medium. I guess because reasons, I don't know. It was a medium tank, but you know, it's in World Tanks, it is essentially a light tank. It's got light tank speed. It's got like a light tank sort of DPM. The only thing it really doesn't have is a light tank camo on the move. Now he's getting some spotting damage here from assisting from, what's it called, insta-spot sort of thing. I'm forgetting words, I do apologise. And then he uses a quick little climb to get up here, but the game's already won. And so, just by turning his tank around and very carefully positioning himself, he managed to get a steel wall. Now, it says only 500 blocks, but that's because World of Tanks sucks on console in terms of damage registration. And so a lot of stuff that's been hit by the tracks will not count as damage. It's also because he's taken damage, it's received potential damage, then the player, the blah, 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 blah. So it's more than potential. But there's been a number of the ones which didn't penetrate, which were eaten by his tracks, which will count as penetrations, but not as damage received, which is a dumb thing, but whatever, it still counts. But there you go. A Cromwell B reverse side scraping against tier 7 tanks. Well, I think they were tier 6 tanks, but there were tier 7s in the game. And what he's won, of course, is the T-34-88, which is even better at reverse side scraping. You can side scrape really, really well in this thing. And so I hope he enjoys it. There was also a PS4 replay, and I think that's the first PS4 replay that's won. And it's not, I've not been excluding any. It's just coincidence. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for entering. Congratulations to you, sir. And as always, I've been Jack the Ripper, and I'll see you on the battlefield.